Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, where we highlight minority business owners and founders, and we use this platform to shed light on their entrepreneur journey. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. We're excited to get into this conversation today. I got a very special guest who's doing some incredible things when it comes to smart media for Black founders and creators and just professionals in general. But before we get into that, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Velour. Again, as you guys have known, the ones who have been following us, Velour has been an incredible partner for us. They're doing amazing things in the export space when it comes to logistics and blockchain, supply chain overall. So when you want your products to be around the world, make sure you don't just import it, you Velour it. But again, excited to have them on as a partner for us this season, curating this list of founders that we've come across. And so just brief introduction on our guest today. She's doing amazing things, again, in the space of when it comes to media, having representation that looks like us, for us, by us, that FUBU model. But her name is Brittani Hunter. She has a company called the Mogul Millennial. There's a lot to unpack in that name there. So we'll definitely be getting into that. But again, Brittani Hunter, she's the founder of Mogul Millennial, which is a smart media company specifically serving Black entrepreneurs and professionals through actionable content, online courses, and different resources. I was actually able to attend one of her events last night. And it's, amazing to see what she's built. But without further ado, let me go ahead and bring Brittani to the stage. How's it going, Brittani?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
I cannot complain. Hopefully you're having a great Friday where you're at. The sun is out where I'm at. So hopefully you're getting a little sunshine your way.
Oh, I'm in Dallas, so we get too much.
Yeah. Oh, y'all get it. Y'all get it all the time.
Yeah.
So, I want to hop right into things with you. Again, appreciate you coming on as a guest. Can you hop right into things? Give folks a little bit about your background. Because I think your story is an amazing story to tell, and I want to give you the platform right now to just give folks a little intro into Brittani.
Yeah. So, again, I'm located in Dallas. I'm born and raised in Dallas, Texas. True, like Southern girl, Texan. I don't have, any horses, but I do wear cowboy boots from time to time. So like the typical stereotype, I guess. But so originally from Dallas. Right after high school, went out to Prairie View A&M University, which is an HBCU right outside of Houston. And that's pretty much where my love for media really, really got really big. So growing up, I was always a media junkie, but I think it was during college, majoring in media and journalism is when I really realized that, okay, you can truly have an impact on the world and your community through media. And so I always knew that one day I was going to explore having a career in this space.
Awesome. And it seems like I come across, we've had some media founders on the podcast, and it seems like you guys are just like you're built to do this. I don't know, from a young age, like what are some of your earliest memories? I'm curious, like when it comes to like media, like seeing content out there that's that you related to. Like, what are some of your early experiences growing up with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, the iconic Ebony magazine, Ebony and Essence, definitely grew up reading those. The other, and literally, I just had like a brain freeze. The Word Up magazine and things like that would, take you back, right? I also grew up reading like Teen magazine and 17 magazine, but one of the things that I used to really, really care about, and even, at the age of 10 and 11, like as a young child, I always read the editor's note. I don't know why, but I always found it super fascinating. And then I used to like to look at all the ads and really think I wonder how much money they pay for this. And this is at a young age, I just found it super fascinating how like the business of media worked and how, and what all it took to bring together like one magazine company. Uh, so yeah, that's just a little bit about me and my experience with it. I was at a very young age, just super obsessed with all things media.
Oh, you said Ebony and Jet magazine. Like it
Yeah.
just like seeing these things like on kitchen tables, like growing up in barber
At the
shops and
beauty shop. Yeah.
yeah, the beauty shop. Like it's just incredible. And actually, I think recently I heard that somebody actually acquired those brands, those two brands. It's crazy that you mentioned that in
Yeah.
terms of like
So
they're trying to revive it, right?
yeah, if I'm correct, and y'all don't quote me on this, but I know like a few years ago somebody did acquire them, and then somebody else recently acquired them, and so I think now they have like a brand new team, brand new CEO, like editor in chief, like all that good stuff. And so, um, and if I'm correct, the person that they brought on to be the CEO is young, and so I think
Yeah.
that we can probably see like some changes, good changes, with Ebony, from like definitely from like a digital standpoint. But you know, even though like I love digital media, obviously because I have a digital media company, I think Ebony should never go away with their hard copy because it's nothing like having like a physical Ebony magazine in your hand.
No, there's nothing like it. Oh my gosh. And so, you know, you all right, so you had that experience, HBCU, Dallas, born and bred, right? Like you said, media's been in your DNA. So what was that moment, right? Like what gave you that itch to, like wear the entrepreneur hat? Like what intrigued you about being an entrepreneur, starting your own business? Like give us a little insight into to the mind of Brittani as you were thinking about taking this step.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background. When I first had the idea for Mogul, I was still working at my last 9 to 5. I had recently created a small online business selling pet products. I'm one of those like dog moms, so I was creating organic, like all natural dog perfumes, and I was selling it online, and I had an account on Etsy. But I was okay with that business, but I definitely wasn't great. I mean, I wasn't making any money. I didn't really get priced in and how to price well. And so around that time, I was trying to figure out, number one, how can I grow my business? And then number two, or just make it a truly real business, the pet business that I had. And then also number two, I'm still working at my last 9 to 5. How can I continue to like level up and get more promotions and, get more bags? And one of the things that I found is that there wasn't an online space that I could go to find like truly resourceful content that was created for like, people like you and I through like the lens of a Black professional, Black entrepreneur. We see all the time, we see us reflected in like daily news and a press release that, X, Y, and Z person just released this business of this product, but we don't really see like how they did it. And so, that was one of the reasons why I created Mogul Millennial, because I wanted to know how to move up, but from the perspective of someone like me. And so I started, I really started out through LinkedIn with Mogul Millennial. I started blogging about just my experience as a Black professional entrepreneur. I was interviewing folks, and all that content was living on LinkedIn. Even though I didn't know like a lot about business, I knew that it just didn't make good sense, good business sense, period, to like give LinkedIn like all the traffic, all the fun. And so from there, the very first version of Mogul Millennial was through Wix, something I created using like, their no code tool system. And we made it work. It was pretty ugly, but the website link worked and you could find content. Uh, and so at that time, I really didn't know that I was like truly like building the business. I just knew that like I wanted to share with my community. I wanted to be able to impact my community as much as I can. And I knew that like, taking Mogul Millennial from like side hustle, passion project, into making it into like a real life business, I could reach more people and truly be more impactful. So that was kind of like really the whole motivation behind it.
Yeah, I love it. From the very first time that I went on the site, there was something that connected for me personally. I don't know if it's because I'm a millennial or just the way that, like you said, we know the social media networks that everybody uses for their career. Shout out to the folks who may have been using Career Builder and some of those sites. I don't even know if they're around anymore. It's evolved some, but those sites have they've kind of lost like their impact, right? In terms of like being a place that, prepares us and we get this content and we're able to digest and really like make it our own. Some of those platforms, for whatever reason, right now they're not really resonating with certain age groups, I guess, or just the way that people want to navigate their careers moving forward. And speaking of that, one of the things I first noticed is that you had a real focus on people having businesses, and also like, okay, here's, your professional career as well. Like, why focus on both? Is there something out there that you're seeing where it makes sense to have them both paired? Because a lot of platforms that I see now, they're either or.
Yeah. So number one, it's hard having a company. I'm going to be, and specifically since I have a media company, I can definitely attest that it's definitely extremely hard to have a media company. So deciding to actually do both was a huge decision, because originally, so when we first created Mogul, we were actually creating for professionals, but pretty soon afterwards, I started creating content for entrepreneurs, because just like what I noticed in, like, the Black career space, or the space for Black professionals, there wasn't any content that was truly speaking to us in an actionable way. And the same thing is for entrepreneurs. Where can you find where we are not only reflected, but also you can like actually learn from us? I mean, I couldn't find it. Nowadays, there are more companies and more media platforms that are coming out, which I'm honestly very excited about, because there shouldn't be one, only one place that you can go to for everything, right? And so I think that the more we have out here, the better. But Black people, we have been underserved in, the smart content space from an entrepreneurship standpoint, and also from a career development standpoint for the longest, especially when you think about content that's created for the modern day employee or entrepreneur. And so even though it's a lot of work and it's hard, because I have two different verticals, I think it's important that we don't like necessarily ignore one and just focus on the other, because even when I talk to my founder audience through our interviews or through our just like how-to content, the reality is entrepreneurship is hard. So if that founder decides that, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, or maybe my business isn't doing good, so I have to go back to the 9 to 5 space, we're still able to help them out and be super impactful through our platform.
Yes, and it's great that you mentioned that, right? Because one of the first articles that I read was about, okay, a founder, right? They've got to go back to work for whatever reason, right? Some of the numbers, right, show us that, hey, like if you start a business, like there's a good chance, if you're going after venture capital and you're going after, high acceleration, like quick growth, you're like, you may fail, right? And so part of that, I think is really cool, though. It's kind of weird that I put that in that sentence, but let me explain. It's cool that even as you go through starting your business, there's also this piece where you're also still building your resume, just in case you want to go back to corporate America.
And you should be. Yeah, because even if let's say your business is successful and you sell it or whatever, I think that the skills that you are gaining as an entrepreneur, you can definitely use in like any other capacity. And so honestly, a lot of our content, I think, especially when it comes down to like just sharing, leadership tips or growing a team, that you can apply that as a new CEO or also as like a manager at your company. So I think that our audience is able to get some clear takeaways and actionable tips from both type of pieces of content that we have on the site.
Yes, I think I really think that is kudos to you for thinking of it that way, because I think that like moving forward, it feels like people are going to have a podcast, they're going to have they're going to be building out a media company, they're going to be building out something even on the side outside of their 9 to 5, right? And there's really like this there's more of a synergy between the two versus thinking you got to like run everything on different tracks, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
So I know as you've been building your business, you actually were a part of the Snapchat accelerator. That's one that I haven't really heard a lot about. I'm pretty sure some of the people chiming in haven't as well. We're familiar with the accelerators overall, but that Snapchat accelerator seemed very interesting as you were breaking it down for me. Can you just elaborate a little bit, on what the program entailed, and then, how was your experience going through that?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I think that a lot of entrepreneurs need to realize is that, when you have a business, going straight to like get VC money is super hard. I mean, we've seen the numbers. We know how hard it is for us to capture those VC dollars. Not saying that it's right, but that's the reality. And so I think it's, super important that not only we focus on just bringing in revenue, we need to make sure that we're focused on making money, but look at the other forms of getting capital. So you have crowdfunding, which is super popular nowadays. And then also, going like the pitch competition route, grants, and then accelerator route. So I think, some of the biggest accelerator programs that people immediately think of is like the Y Combinator and Techstars and 500 Startups. But there's also, hundreds of other accelerators throughout the country and even internationally. And so when I knew that I want to go or attempt to go through the accelerator route, it was for two reasons. Number one, of course, funding. I wanted to get to bring some money in early, as early as I can, as I was also focused on bringing the revenue. But also just that mentorship, that network of support, and just to learn how to be a better founder. And so I was specifically looking for accelerator programs who could help me out in what I was building. And I think that's a mistake that I've seen some founders make. They just apply to any and everything, but you need to really focus on like who can truly help you out, because, of course, getting a check is good and all, but like outside of the money, you want to make sure that whoever that's investing in you can truly support you, even outside of, financial means. And so, through Yellow, I was able to get funding for my company and then leave with like a network of incredible people in the media space, and also just a great support system as I'm growing my own media company. For those who don't know, Yellow specifically is created for digital media companies, and so they're focused on helping digital media companies scale and grow. So if you do have a digital media company, I highly suggest that you apply for the Yellow Accelerator and just get connected with the Yellow team, because they have tons of resources that's out there already for founders. And also from time to time, they'll have events that's open to the public, even if you didn't go through their cohort.
That's awesome. That's it. Like you just alluded to, like leveraging your tools. But I think it's really spot on what you just said there around making sure, when you go into these partnerships, making sure that it fits you. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think too often we know the ones, like you said, there's a ton of accelerators out there, the more common ones, maybe, Y Combinator, some of those bigger ones. And that's just not for everybody. Right.
Yeah.
And there's usually a certain type of business that goes in that space, but Snapchat is all about media. I know they're all about, they're all about tech, right? And making sure that the younger generations kind of gravitate towards their product. So that's really cool that you were able to align with them. And you spoke to something there around just being able to connect with different people within the media space, right? And so it sounds like you're kind of building out your inner circle, just people that you can go to and figure out how to build your business. I'm curious, in this media space, how do the demographics look, right? We know in other spaces, we may be underrepresented when it comes to leadership roles and things like that. But in the media space, are you seeing, people that look like you who you can connect with, or is there still an opportunity there?
Yeah, hands down, there's still an opportunity there for growth and just for some more diverse spaces, diverse people, just people from like diverse industries and areas of the media business. So there's definitely a need for it. So I highly encourage anybody that has an idea that's specifically catered to media to go ahead and get their feet wet and create a media company, or to join a media company. And so that way we can have some type of representation there. So whether you're creating your own media company, or you can join, whether that's like a legacy media brand, or one of the newer startups, I think that the media space in general could use some diversity from all levels, whether that's marketing, business development, on the creative side, operation side. We can use some diverse opinions and people in those areas.
Got it. All right. I gotta dive into this because I actually saw it firsthand yesterday. The startup pitch conversations that you were having, it was amazing. Let the folks know a little bit around like what you're doing there, and just like the thought process. Like, why are founders like telling you that right now that they need more and more of that kind of dialogue?
Yeah, so number one, for those who don't know, every month the Mogul Millennial hosts an event called the Quick Pitch. So we did our first live Quick Pitch actually last month, but generally the Quick Pitch is a virtual event series where we'll link up with Black investors. So whether they're VCs, angel investors, or even like people who are just leaders in the startup space. So maybe they're head over an accelerator program or incubator program. But the just reality is the people that we link up with to give pitch feedback, they look at pitches or they listen to pitches pretty much every day. And so at the Quick Pitch, we select a small group of founders and they practice a pitch within an investor. And we do it for a variety of reasons. Number one, just to amplify, Black founders and Black investors. But then number two, just to give our founders an opportunity to get pitch feedback. You all just getting in touch with investors and getting them to take time out to listen to you is, for any founder, it's a job on its own, right? And so even then, once you do pitch an investor or you're pitching, sometimes you don't know that your pitch needs help until it's too late. And so there were people within my community that mentioned that, hey, I'm applying to this accelerator program, or I pitched this VC firm and I haven't heard anything back, or they gave me a no, but they said that, because of the applicant pool and how many applications they get, they can't give feedback. And so we wanted to provide a safe space where our founders can, again, just link up and network with investors, and also they can get real, transparent, like no BS feedback on what they're building and how they talk about their company. And so, yeah, if y'all are founders and if you need help with your pitch, or you're preparing to pitch an investor, or you're getting ready to apply for an accelerator, I know they're like, well, Accommodator's application is coming up soon, or it's ending soon, and Yellow's application will be opening up soon. I highly recommend applying to be a part of the Quick Pitch, so that way you can talk one-on-one with that. Well, not one-on-one because it's public, but you can talk directly to an investor and get feedback, because that's something that we all need in order to grow.
Yes, and it was very candid, honest feedback, I can say, on the call. But I think in a setting like that, you probably want to hear that kind of feedback right before you're in the real deal situation where money's on the line, right?
Yeah. And the way I look at it too, the whole thing with Mogul, we want to make sure that our space, that the people, our community, feels safe, and we know it's us. So you can be honest. And so whenever we do our Quick Pitch events, I tell the investor, I'm like, look, act like you're talking to your homeboy, your homegirl. Be honest, because if you can't get the real from us, who's gonna tell you? So be honest, be transparent. And I tell all of our founders, look, they're told to be honest to you because I want them to be. Because if we don't need to sugarcoat the truth. If they're sugarcoating what you can work on and just say that everything is amazing and everything is great, you're never gonna grow. And so I always tell the founders, number one, y'all are brave to do this in front of a live audience, and then just being open to feedback is something that a lot of people aren't good at. But I think to be a truly successful founder, you have to be open to feedback, because you're not an expert yet. You need to get that feedback so that way you can grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't. It can't be said enough. Just being able to go into a situation like that and really, like you said, put yourself out there. You're going to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
People were vulnerable, right? It may have been their first time going through their pitch. They may have gone through it a couple of times. They're experimenting, trying different things. And you just got to be able to take that feedback. And you put it perfectly, Brittany, who better to tell you than people who want to see you succeed, right? And doing it that's a safe space. And so, but you said something towards the end, right, around kind of being able to take in and kind of take in the moment. Like when I think around you as the founder of your company, right, you're listening to your team, right, but then you're also like you have a lot of content. So I know you got some folks on your team as well that are helping you put some of this stuff together. So how has it been for you transitioning back to wearing your founder's hat, transitioning to kind of being that leader, kind of giving the direction and ultimately like things falling on you? Like, how has that experience been? Do you enjoy it? Are there some learnings from it? Has it been painful? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so my background prior to Mogul, I used to lead teams. The biggest team that I've ever had was 70-person team, and within those 70 people, I had 6 managers that reported directly to me. So I've always been big on like just managing people. Always loved it. Loved to help people grow in their careers. And then also, I've always been big on like the employee development side. So when I created Mogul, I knew that in order for us to grow, and so that way I can, and also in order for me to be able to focus on other areas of the business or to make it a real business, I needed help. Uh, and to be honestly, like very transparent with you, it was very, very hard and it was crazy to me because, again, I'm used to leading teams, right? I have that experience, but I think it's a little bit different when it's like your baby. And also, even though I had experience in management, I didn't have a blueprint into like, okay, now that you're full time, this is what you do, or this is what you should focus on. And so in the beginning, it was very, very hard because I think, as a super early stage startup, I think that some of the things that I could have did better on was creating a clear blueprint for the people that I was bringing on. And so oftentimes I was looking for people who had experience in certain areas, whether that was writing or social media. And even though they had got their own experience in writing or social media or business development from other areas, if you think about it, the people that I was bringing on, it wasn't like they were working at a startup. And working at a startup versus working at a corporation is totally different, especially if it's like a brand new startup, because, literally every day something changes, something is new. And so I think one of the biggest lessons one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest lessons that I learned is that before you bring people on, you need to make sure that you have everything as seamless as possible. And so one of the things that I did over time is making sure that my onboarding process for my team members was good. And so internally, I created like a whole onboarding deal with like, training videos that I created myself. We live in Google Drive, and so there's like Google Docs at the right, all the folders, like all the things, all the spreadsheets. But I also spend time with people that I bring on to make sure that they understand exactly like what Mogul is, what are expectations, how can they, excel in their position. And that's something that I personally do because we are still a pretty early stage startup, and I always want to make sure that like I'm very hands on with them in those early days as I'm onboarding new people.
Yeah, that is so underrated. I feel like you just dropped the gem there because look, everybody, like being in, making a Word document and like just writing down what your business means.
Yeah,
It doesn't
you have
sound
to.
like the sexiest thing to do, right? It doesn't sound glamorous, right? But just having that and being able to tangibly give somebody that day one, you'd be surprised how many people have businesses out here where they onboard people, right? Onboard. And
It's
there's like,
no.
and
Like,
there's no.
here's my Twitter account, manage it. And I mean, honestly, that's what I did. Like, I'm not, well, I am ashamed, but I'll be honest with y'all. Like, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hire or bring on like somebody help out with social media. Okay, here's the application. So I have enough steps to make an application. I created a cute little application in Typeform and, posted it across social. People applied. And from there, I'm like, okay, cool. You have experience in social media. You did social media for your college or for whatever. Now, here's my login. Make it work. And I mean, as you can imagine, like everything was just all screwed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, by talking to them and figuring out, okay, well, what was good, what was bad about your experience, and then also when I would see that they were failing in certain areas, I realized, Well, they're failing not because of them, but because I didn't lay out a clear like blueprint for them. And when onboarding definitely matters. And when I was at my last company, even though I was able to like successfully manage and lead a team, I was getting all the gems from corporate. They already had everything laid out for me. So when you start a business, you have to create everything yourself. Like, I mean, you're starting out with nothing. So every little detail you have to create yourself. And it's a lot.
I can only imagine, but yeah, again, that just is part of that's the part of the struggle, right? And that's what you sign up for. Right. And those are just some of the things like it just like onboarding, like some of the things that you're paying attention to and leveraging your prior experience prior to starting your business. It really gives you, a solid ground in it. And I really enjoy hearing people kind of leveraging that experience before versus sometimes people think, hey, I got to start from fresh. I got to start from scratch and learn all these things. That's going to be real painful.
Yeah, it is. You need to get some type of experience under your belt. I mean, being a founder, you're gonna get the experience regardless. But if you can have like a little bit of knowledge beforehand, that'll help you out.
So you touched a little bit. It sounds like you're really figuring out, your rhythm, right, with leading and building out Mogul Millennial, right, the way that you want to. But I'm always curious to know, like, what are like the pain points, like the really painful experiences that you've had? I know I'm putting it that way. But what's something that you've learned throughout the process, right? One of those aha moments that you wish you could hop in a time machine, have it right at the very beginning of you starting your business that will maybe set you up. You think maybe it set you up for that much more success. Like, what's that one thing that you learned?
Oh, easily. The first thing that comes to mind is something that like really obsessed with now and have been at least for the past year is having a solid email marketing strategy. In the very early days, I wasn't collecting email addresses at all. And it sounds crazy if you think about it, but y'all trust me. I meet so many founders, like startup founders, so many small business owners nowadays who don't collect email addresses. And in 2021, if you are not collecting email addresses, like, what are you doing? And I launched Mogul Millennial in 2017, went full time in 2019. By 2019, we were collecting emails, but in 2017, even then, I look back at myself and I'm like, why were you collecting email addresses? Like, girl, what's wrong with you? So, if I could go back and just tell myself, like, girl, you need to focus on this, and that's, collect email addresses, figure out like a solid email marketing strategy, look at your email analytics and grow from that. So that's definitely something that I would say was a challenge or was something that I wish I could go back and redo.
So I'm not actively collecting email addresses, so Brittani just taught me something right now. I mean,
Kenny.
All right. So guys, if you're listening right now, send us your email address. We're gonna get it locked in
today, not tomorrow.
Yes, today. Brittani just taught me something, but hey, we're here to learn. I don't mind putting myself out there again on this platform to say that I'm learning throughout. And when it comes to the media game and things like that, Brittani, I'm going to take your word for it. And I truly do believe you that people do need to be collecting these kinds of things. I am just adjusting to all the social media. I don't know why. Yes, email collection matters. I don't know why I'm acting like email isn't a part of my generation, because it definitely is. And so I'm committing to doing better. Yes, Brooke chiming in. Shame on you. So I will do better.
One thing, a few quick email tips. We started out using MailChimp. MailChimp is great. Nowadays there's like more like 6-year platforms out there to use. Explore them all, but I'm definitely a fan of MailChimp. It gets the job done and it's cheap. And if you are just now starting out, don't opt in for you shouldn't be paying hundreds of dollars a month, even like $20 a month. Get the cheapest plan that you can find and grow from there. Create you a nice little landing page, get some pop-ups together, collect those emails. Like whenever you have something, you should have an area people subscribe to like pretty much everywhere. And then on the back end from there, have a good welcome email, create sequence emails. There's like a whole thing. Kenny, I have an article that we did on Mogul, shameless plug, about email marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll share with you, and you can just like link to it. But yeah, it walks you through like everything you need to know about email marketing and just how to get started. But you definitely have to talk to your people. Like if Twitter decides to go away, which it's not, but if it did, what are you gonna do? If LinkedIn went away, like what are we gonna do? You
Yeah.
gotta,
And,
yeah.
and and to your point, right? It really does go to like you owning a relationship with your the people who are engaging in your content, right? Like you said, these platforms, they technically like own it, right? They own
Mm-hmm.
a part of it because they have to go to their platform. When you start collecting the emails and the phone numbers and things like that, you can kind of have that dialogue no matter the system. So
Yeah,
that's very
yeah.
spot on.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with a small business owner out here in Dallas who has they're in the food and beverage space, and she was telling me that she doesn't collect email addresses, or she doesn't collect email addresses because she doesn't know what to send. And a few things. Look at your competitors. Yes, you have competitors. Look at them. See what they are sending. Don't copy it, but that'll give you an idea of like, okay, well maybe since I have this food company, I can send emails about this. But you definitely have to collect email addresses. So, Kenny, I can't wait to hear about the update about when you do
Yes,
it and how it
yes,
goes.
yes. I'm gonna have to update you on that, and it has really been the learning just podcasting right by itself. It's media, right? But the learnings
Mm-hmm.
that I've had over the last year, like Brittany, I know you can imagine how much I've learned coming into this space, and I am learning day by day, just learning how much these interactions really matter
Yeah.
across the different platforms. And so that is something that is actively it's actively on my list. I took another double note when you just mentioned it as well. So I'm excited to be able to share how we're growing there with
Yeah.
you and then the folks who are listening into our content overall. So we touched base on a lot so far, but one of the things that as I created or started having conversations with different founders at the beginning of COVID, right? One of the things that was popping up, right, was the racial conversations around some of the inequities when it comes to economics, when it comes to jobs and things like that. And so I'm curious to know, the business professionals and maybe even the founders that you're talking to, how are they feeling after we had a solid year, maybe year and a half of having those kinds of conversations? Like, how are they feeling about, go forward? Are they seeing improvements? Are they feeling optimistic about, just the opportunities that are out there? Like what's the feeling from the founders and maybe even the professionals that you're talking to?
Yeah. So the founders and the professionals that I've talked to, they're pretty much ready to just like not take no for an answer. I think over the past year, we've seen a lot of, we've seen some change, but then we've also seen a lot of, just performative action or people just like talking about it, but they're not really like backing themselves up. Whether that's, companies creating, giving more dollars to Black founders or creating programs for their professionals just to be more inclusive. We've seen like, again, a lot of talk, but like at the same time, a lot of BS. And so I think because of that, the people in our community, they're more like, okay, I'm not gonna take no for an answer. I'm gonna stop waiting on you to do things for me. I'm just gonna make a way out of no way. I'm gonna just go for it no matter what. And so I think in the near future, I think we're gonna see more people in our community being even more unapologetic at work, which I'm really happy about. And I think we're gonna see more of us creating what we don't see in the industry that we're in. And so that means, more Black-owned businesses, just more ownership all over. And personally, I'm super excited about that because I think that in order for our community to truly grow, we have to collectively just bring in, more Black wealth, more and push and put more Black dollars towards our businesses. I'm excited about also the surge in Black investors that are coming up and all the Black VC firms. And I think that we're gonna definitely see way more of that as time progresses. And I think that it didn't really stem from what happened, year or two ago, because all the racial inequalities that's been going on like forever. But I'm happy to see that because of what's been going on, it's made us even more like passionate about, okay, well, let's just make sure that as a community we take care of us, and we do what we have to do no matter what. So depending on like our counterparts.
Yeah, I like that energy. That's
Yeah.
definitely a good energy to have, and it's like always seeing the positive in the situation. I think for whatever reason, Black talent, whether professionals or founders, we always have a really good way of kind of flipping it, right, and being like, hey, here's the opportunity that I see in this situation. And like you said, you even mentioned the VC. We've had a couple VCs on the platform as well. There's just so much opportunity out there. There's so much money. The government is printing money every day, it seems like. Yeah. And so we got to make sure we take advantage of the situation in front of us. So that's good. That's good energy. I'm glad to hear that. That's something across the board that you're hearing from the founders and the professionals leveraging your platform.
Yeah. I think even in the media space, I remember like probably about roughly a year ago when I was pitching Mogul Millennial to investors, trying to raise around. And some of the feedback that I was getting from investors was like, okay, this is cool, but like, what if Business Insider or Fast Company created that for Black folks? Like, what happens? And I think the reality is, a few years ago when I was seeing all these, when I was seeing the problem that was existing in the media and the whole vision behind, or the whole reason why Mogul Millennial was created, like, what if I decided to just wait for Fast Company or whoever to create something for us? And I think that, that kind of speaks to what I was saying a few minutes ago. Like, we shouldn't have to wait for others to create for us. Just, figure out how we can do it, make it work, and how we can scale our businesses. We don't need to wait for anybody to do anything for us. And so I'm hoping that we see even more of that energy all throughout every industry, not just media.
Yeah, that's dope. And it's just like in the space you're in, like when we think about media, we think about the content that's put on our screens, PlayStations, phones, TV.
Yeah. Media is not just like articles and videos and podcasts. It ranges. It's so diverse, and so we need to see more like diversity, and we need to see ourselves reflected in all of those spaces.
Yes, definitely. So, one of the things we do with our season, we actually have a sponsor question. So again, shout out to our sponsors over at Valurit. They've been an amazing partner, but our partner Brooke, she actually came up with this one term around. We were having a conversation on one of our season intros, and it was around like world domination, right? And so, what does world domination look like for Mogul Millennial a year out, 2021, or even if you have that long term, like that North Star, like what does that world domination look like for you?
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. So I think for us that means more partnerships, more impactful, intentional events. Everything that we do at Mogul, we're very big on like how is this truly impacting our community of Black professionals and entrepreneurs. And so we want to be more impactful, more resourceful in every sense. And so we're currently working on, outside of the quick pitch, again, that's something that we do every month. We're currently working on 2 signature events that will release next year. And so right now we're in heavy planning stages, trying to work on getting partnerships for it, getting sponsorships for it, some money behind it, of course. And so I think that that's one of the ways that we'll be, further dominating this space of smart media for Black folks going into the next year. And as we close out 2021, it's just by doing what we do best and what we do now. And that's being a truly like resourceful place where our community can find content that's not only inspirational and reflective of us and authentic, but it's also smart as hell and you can learn from it.
Yes, I love that. I love that smart component there. That's really big. And again, for folks chiming in, if you do have an opportunity, go ahead and check out the website, the founder once a month pitch conversations. They're amazing. If you got your own business, you got your idea, you want to get it in front of some folks, definitely that's definitely a great platform to use there. In closing, Brittani, I want to pass it to you one more time. Before I do that, I just want to say, appreciate you coming on the platform and really sharing your story. You're building an amazing product. I saw it firsthand yesterday. But with that said, I want to pass it to you one time. Let folks know how they can engage with the brand, engage with you. I know you're active across social media as well, and the places that they can go to so that they can keep up to date with all things Mogul Millennial.
Yeah, so as far as Mogul, we're on every social platform at Mogul Millennial. Our go-to platforms that we use every day is LinkedIn, I think probably is number one, and then Instagram and Twitter, and of course we're on Facebook. But just follow us on those platforms. We're gonna start doing some live like interviews and things like that through LinkedIn Live, and so make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn so that way you can be tapped in. And then as far as me, I'm on pretty much every social platform at Brittani L. Hunter. I think, yeah, it's right there on the screen. And so follow me, wherever you want to follow me at, whatever is your platform of choice. Personally, my jam is LinkedIn and Twitter when it comes to just talking about like my founder journey. And then I love IG for like the ratchetness here and there and just for fun.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Is there anything that you want to close us out on outside of the, letting folks know where to, engage with the brand? Is there anything you want to close out on in terms of lasting message you want folks to leave this conversation with?
Yeah. So since we were talking about it earlier, if you have a business, collect email addresses, or if you have a personal brand, collect email addresses. And since we're talking about emails, go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. but no, on a serious note, just make sure that you are able to have that one-on-one connection with your audience and you're able to talk to them outside of social media. So that's my last gem that I want to like really nail into everybody today.
You heard it from you guys heard it from Brittani. She's the media expert. I'm following Brittani on Twitter. I'm engaged with Mogul Millennial. I'm taking notes wherever I can just to make sure to see how I can build out the podcast that much further. But again, I appreciate you coming on the platform, Brittani. Thanks for folks chiming in. We have some engagement throughout, have some viewership, folks chiming in and checking this out. But definitely want to just, close out with saying thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. We can be streamed across all major streaming platforms in addition to YouTube. Come back again.